This Jaguars team last year, they allowed Urban Meyer to call all the shots. So Urban Meyer comes in, this is when he's not going home with his team, and he's hanging out at a bar that he owns in Ohio. Like, he brings in his entire staff. He brings in the GM, Trent Baalke, and people are literally wearing clown masks to Jags games because they want to fire the GM and the coach. And they fire the coach but decide to keep the GM that the coach brought, which makes absolutely zero sense. And this Jags team, so you let Urban Meyer be the coach. He has 2 first-round picks. Basically tells everybody with the second first-round pick he wanted to draft Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney's not on the board. So what do? You draft a running back and say that you're going to make him play the same position that Kadarius Toney plays. When Elijah Moore was on the board, and it makes zero sense. Like, Travis Etienne is a great running back. Why would you draft him and expect him to play slot receiver? If you're going to use him in multiple ways, that's one thing. But it seemed like he wanted him to fill the shoes that he wanted Kadarius Toney to be in, and so that was crazy. So he gets fired. Let the GM stay. And so this is what the GM has done thus far in this offseason. So one of the first deals they make, 4 years, $72 million to Christian Kirk. This Christian Kirk is like the 3rd or 4th best receiver on the Cardinals last year. And he's getting $18 million per year. I've seen other people report that he's getting up to $21 million per year. So basically, this is guy is going from not being the top 2 receivers on the Cardinals to being one of the highest paid receivers in all of football. That's crazy. And it's also that kind of messes up the market for receiver. Now if you're an Allen Robinson, it's dude, Christian Kirk made $18 million a year and you're trying to pay me $15? Get out of here. I'm better than him. So I'm curious. I don't mean to knock, if someone offers you to pay you that much, you got to take it. But if you're looking at it if you're a Jags fan, or if you're looking at it objectively, you would think if the Jags are going to go out and pay someone that much, you'd think that they'd be the best guy on the market, which he wasn't, at least at this point. Maybe he's going to blossom into something that we didn't see in Arizona now that he's on the Jags, because he's going to have to. He's going to be the main guy there. And then they also signed Zay Jones, the receiver, for 3 years, $24 million. They cut Miles Jack, who's their star linebacker, also a head scratcher. If you're making all these moves, why don't you keep the guys that you already have? And then they bring in Evan Ingram, 1 year, $9 million deal. I mean, that's a high upside guy. You bring in a guy to the tight end room, they could potentially do something. He seemed kind of underutilized on the Giants. And then another head scratcher, Brandon Scherff, 3 years, $50 million, just about 49.5. So you make a guard, the highest paid guard in football, and this is a guy that hasn't been healthy at all, throughout most of his career. So do you expect him to come in and be healthy now? Time will tell, obviously, but we'll see. And then they picked up the Jets D tackle, Foley Fatukasi, 3 year, $30 million deal. This is a $10 million per year. I like Fatukasi. I liked him on the Jets. From what it looked like, it seemed like he's more of a nose tackle guy that didn't fit what the Jets are running. So I think that's why they didn't bring him back. But he's a good locker room guy and whatnot. And then the Jags also picked up Foye Olukun. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I might have totally butchered it. But 3 year, $45 million deal. He was the linebacker on the Falcons last year. So, I mean, he's a good player, but to get him and then cut Miles Jack, it's just, none of it makes sense to me. The amount of money that the Jags spent, you would think that they picked up some really big names, and that's not necessarily what they did. And then, get into my Jets. So my Jets, they brought back Tevin Coleman on a really small deal, a year. I think it's $1.5 million with potential to be a little more based on bonuses. They brought back They brought back Braxton Berrios, 2-year, $12 million deal with $7 million guaranteed. I think this is fair. He's one of the best kick returners in football, and he's a really good, reliable slot receiver. And then they also brought back Lamarcus Joyner. But then they get into the new moves, the free agency moves. CJ Uzomah from the Cincinnati Bengals, 3-year, $24 million deal. This is a guy who was super good on the Bengals last year. He was part of the reason that they went deep into the Super Bowl in the playoffs. And, I mean, he played the Super Bowl hurt and everything. Like, this is a totally guy that I want to bring into the Jets locker room. He fits in a hole that we need. We need a tight end. And adding him for the young QB, as we saw with Joe Burrow, great third down weapon. I think he's going to be awesome for the Jets. And then also on day one, we picked up Laken Tomlinson, the guard from the 49ers. So this is a guy who's been a Pro Bowl guard, 3-year, $40 million deal. So I think it's, I want to say his contract comes to like 13.5 mil per season or somewhere in that range, because I think it's 41. But you get a really good guard that can start opposite of Elijah Vera Tucker. So now you got a legit O-line. Like, you might want to bring in some more pieces, but overall your O-line is a lot better. And this is exactly what you want to put around your second-year QB now. And then on the defensive side, we picked up DJ Reed, the corner from Seattle, 3-year, $33 million deal. This is a guy who has experience with Robert Saleh. So I think he's going to be a great fit. We need more corners, so I really like this move. And then Jordan Whitehead, the safety from Tampa. This is another guy signing with the Jets, 2-year, $14.5 million. And I think this is a really good move for the Jets. We needed a safety, we needed a corner. We're able to go get both of them, so I like to see this. And then moving on to some of the other teams. The Chargers, they were able to get J.C. Jackson on a 5-year, $82.5 million deal. And then they also were able to shore up their D-line with Sebastian Joseph Day on a 3-year, $24 million deal. They ended up cutting Brian Bulaga. He only played one game last year, so I don't think they're going to necessarily feel a huge hole in for him for cutting him. But adding J.C. Jackson and Khalil Mack to a defense that was struggling last year, I mean, that's what you need if you want to make that next jump next year. They were already able to kind of retain their offensive weapons and everything. Herbert's just getting better. He's going to be into his third year. So I like the move so far for the Chargers. The Ravens made a big move getting Marcus Williams for 5 years, $70 million deal. He's awesome. He's one of the better safeties, one of the better players in this kind of free agency class at safety. So I think he'll be a big pickup for the Ravens, kind of filling the void that's been left since Earl Thomas. So that'll be cool. And then the Bills made a couple really good moves. Roger Saffold, the guard that was cut from Tennessee, but even before that he was on the Rams. He's a solid guard, a good starter. And then they also picked up J.D. McKissick, who's like one of the best, receiving backs in football. So I think that's actually a really good move for Buffalo. They tend to not run the ball hardly at all. So you add J.D. McKissick, who's one of the best receiving threats out of the backfield. I think he's a good kind of fit for that offense. And obviously they're not going to expect him to be an every down back. He's just going to come in and rotate. And then some of the other moves that were made, the Dolphins, they got Connor Williams, the guard, on a 2-year, $14 million deal. That fills a position of need for them. They picked up Cedric Wilson on a 3-year, $22.8 million deal. He was like he actually got a decent amount of playing time last year due to injuries and COVID and whatnot. But on the Cowboys, he was more like the number 4 guy. And then the Dolphins also got Chase Edmonds on a 2-year, $12.6 million deal. He's a good, versatile running back, which they definitely needed more help at running back. And then they brought Teddy Bridgewater in. And honestly, I think Teddy Bridgewater and Tua, I think they both fit really well. And, Teddy's a good veteran in the game, so I think that's a good fit. And then moving on, the Bengals made some good moves. They got Alex Kappa from the Bucks, 4-year, $40 million deal. And they also got the center from the Patriots, Ted Karras, on a 3-year, $18 million deal. So the Bengals definitely are investing in the O-line. They were able to bring a lot of the guys back that they had. They haven't done any huge splash moves yet, but we'll see. I think they probably are in the cards to do something like that. And then Denver added Randy Gregory on a 5-year, $70 million deal. This is funny because apparently he was ready to re-sign with Dallas, and he was asking his agent some questions about offset language and some of the details of the contract. And there was some kind of hang-up. I don't know exactly what went down, but he ends up going to Denver on a similar contract. And then they also pick up DJ Jones on a 3-year, $30 million deal. He's a good D tackle as well. So Denver just getting better. They're really trying to push all their cards to the table and go all in on a Super Bowl with Russ. And I like to see that. The Lions, they picked up DJ Chark for 1 year, $10 million. This is kind of what I'm curious about with the Christian Kirk thing. I think DJ Chark is a good young receiver, and is Christian Kirk worth that much more than DJ Chark is? I'm not sure, but I do like the pickup for the Lions. And then the Chiefs are letting the Honey Badger Tyrann Mathieu go, and they signed Justin Reid to a 3-year, $31.5 million deal. So I mean they got a good replacement. But the rumor is they didn't even make an offer to keep him, which is crazy. The Honey Badger been one of the best safeties in football for years. And I still think he's going to be, even these next couple years.